Hi, I'm Scott Wrighton. I serve as Decatur's City Manager, and it truly is our pleasure and my pleasure to give you weekly updates about what's going on with your city government. The Mayor and City Council held their last City Council meeting of 2023 last Monday night, and it was full of a lot of housekeeping and year-end stuff, but there's a few items that I'd like to highlight for you. The City Council took a really forward-looking decision to plan for how we make sure that we have sufficient sewer collection and pumping capacity out in the Northeast Quadrant. The Northeast Quadrant is a terminology that we use to talk about all the industrial space, a lot of it adjoining or near Brush College Road and 22nd Street and north of the Norfolk Southern Railroad line in the Northeast Quadrant of Decatur, where a lot of industry is located today and where we expect a lot of the new industry we are attracting to Decatur to be located. The City of Decatur has invested over the years millions of dollars in that area in new road work and in water lines, not as much in sewer. And so there are some areas, not the entire area, but there's a few areas in that Northeast Quadrant that don't have access to municipal sewers, which is really important because some of these businesses are what we call wet industries. They use a lot of water, and because they use a lot of water, they also discharge a lot of wastewater. So a key to making sure that we can continue to attract new jobs to Decatur is linked to our ability to deliver water and sewer services in those areas. And so the City Council approved an engineering contract to make sure that we can run additional force main and lift station to a section of that Northeast Quadrant that doesn't currently have sewer. That's an investment in the future. That's an investment in economic development. That's an investment in job creation and making sure that businesses who are looking for that as a part of their package for coming to Decatur can be sure that infrastructure will be there. Another decision that City Council made was to completely change the format and the delivery of our website. Now, the current website that we have has been a good website for us. It's very informative. There's a lot of data in the City of Decatur website. We've had it for about 8 years. But the technology, the expectations, the platforms that local governments use to host their websites has changed a lot. And so the City Council has been talking about this in not just one, but the last 2 budget sessions, and said we need to scale that up. And so they took action to go with a different vendor. And it's not just a vendor that'll do a website, but it's also one where some other services, newsletters and other ways to get information out, ways to be more transparent with the data that we have so that citizens have a better idea of how their government is run, and many other services that you'll hear more about in the months to come as we make this change over the next several months. So it's really intended primarily to make sure that you, as citizens, can access even more aspects of the city government, even more services, even more documents than you've been able to access before. And even though some of those are available on the current website, maybe that you can get to them faster with fewer clicks, maybe better graphics and so forth. So look forward to those changes coming. Another item that occupied a lot of time on the Mayor and City Council's agenda last Monday had to do with a project over on Jasper Street near the Marietta Street intersection, where a former We Folks daycare facility, and before that it had been a school, was being repurposed by the city to be a daycare facility in an area of the city in the urban core where we really have a shortage of daycare services. The coverage by both the WAND as well as by the Herald and Review seem to focus primarily on the overruns, and we've had some significant overruns I'm going to talk about in a second. But what I think that reporting failed to do was to put this project in its larger perspective. One of the biggest impediments that we hear from our local businesses over and over again is that there's not enough workers in the workforce to support all the jobs that they want to create in Decatur. And the availability of reliable childcare has a lot to do with that. If somebody doesn't have reliable childcare, then that effectively takes them out of the workforce. And so to the extent that the city can help stimulate, incentivize more childcare, we are contributing directly to one of the biggest problems our industrial employers identify, and that is getting the workforce that they need and making sure that they can be reliable employees, because if they don't have good childcare, maybe they start, but then they have absentee problems or whatever related to childcare. So we did have some big overruns with this project, partly because we had expected that the state would evaluate this child care facility in a different way, and because, and this isn't just a matter related to child care facilities, it really relates to the cost of rehabilitation of existing structures all over the city of Decatur, all over the state of Illinois. The cost of rehab, in part driven by inflation, but other factors too, has increased astronomically and has increased at rates considerably above the inflationary rates that we all experience at the grocery store. So the cost of a rehab estimate from a contractor as recently as maybe 18 months ago is radically higher today than it was before. So the combination of out of control inflationary factors and its impact on rehabilitation, and the fact that the state had given us some different information, has caused the costs to increase significantly. We've made no secret about that. What I think that some of the reporting might have missed, though, is that the cost of tearing the building down and starting over again would be even higher. And so reluctantly, we had to decide, how do we push our way through some of these higher costs to achieve the objective that the city and our economic development partners have, which is, how do we increase the availability of child care services as a way of bolstering our workforce development. So as unfortunate as some of these overruns have been, I think that's the larger context that I wanted to communicate. And what the City Council directed was that these bids all be brought back together so that they would be able to see what measures, what strategies we've used to try to contain those costs as much as possible so they can see them all together. And we expect to do that in January, so stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to giving you some more information about what's going on with your city next week.